What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for being a part of the show. A little early today, 7:59 in the morning, Wednesday, May 14th. I was ready to go. Sometimes you're just waiting. Not all the time. Sometimes I'm waiting. This time around, I was like, all right, let's just get the show started. Appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for being a part of the show. I appreciate all that. All right, we got a lot to get into today. I'm curious here. I play some music in the background. YouTube's got so many rules. I figure out some of this stuff. I need a YouTube attorney basically to sit next to me and say, can I do this? Can I not do this? I need a full slate here. Thank you for being a part of the show. Let's get things started here. First thing I'm going to say here right out the gate, we got a lot going on today, and I will be jumping all over the place from an NBA perspective. I was reading a lot of different articles, so we'll be able to do that. I do got a quote for everybody here before I get into the rundown here. Move like everything is going to work out, because it is. Move like everything is going to work out, because it is. I like that. Whether things are going your way or not, act like things are going your way. Move around like it's going your way. I like that. That's a phenomenal quote right there. Okay, let me give everyone just a quick idea of the rundown of the show today. Like I mentioned, a lot of good NBA stuff that we'll get into. Man, we had some games yesterday. I don't know if you guys are sitting around watching all these NBA games, but your boy Slee, he's enjoying these games. Cheers to you in the morning as well. Coffee, whatever it is you're doing. I finished my cup of coffee, so I'm good to go there. Now I just got a cup of tea going here. Tea, a little bit of milk, a little bit of honey, kind of get the nice little sweetness here that I got here, and then we go from there. Here's a rundown of the show today. Let me give everyone just a quick idea what we'll be hitting on in today's show. OKC takes a 3-2 lead. Can I say this real quick? I want to spend a little bit of time. How far are the Lakers from some of these other teams in the Western Conference? Because I'm watching some just phenomenal basketball last night between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. And it makes me think to myself, yeah, the Lakers got a ways to go. We'll rank where we think the Lakers are right now in the Western Conference. We'll kind of rank if you look at some of the different teams out there, and it's going to give us a little bit of an idea of just how far the Lakers are from really, really competing, and also just how much work's going to need to be done by Rob Pelinka and that front office in the offseason. Because if you're watching the games I'm watching, oh, geez. I see somebody on here put a 3 seed. Yeah, that 3 seed doesn't mean anything. If you put a 3 seed because you're just paying attention to the regular season, these playoffs have shown you that those regular season rankings were fugazis, as we like to say. It was a fugazi. I wonder if Michael Thompson ever actually watched Donnie Brasco. Remember when I was telling Michael Thompson, he said he loves mob movies. Go see yourself a little Donnie Brasco. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. I want to talk about yesterday's game. We'll rank the West. LeBron to save the Cavs. All right, people are going to say, what the hell are you talking about? Come on now. What the hell are you talking about? I was watching, I've told you guys some of the shows where I consume a lot of my stuff. I was watching Colin Cowherd, and he had Nick Wright on. I'm going to play a clip from Nick Wright that I thought was interesting. It's worth a conversation. Let's just put it that way. And the conversation was, does LeBron just kind of stick around with the Lakers and keep trying to, who knows what's going to happen in the Western Conference? It's probably going to get even tougher. And maybe Giannis is going to come to the Western Conference as well. You got all these other teams that are going to be desperate in the Western Conference. Is Bron's best chance to go get championship number 5, go back to the Cleveland Cavaliers? They were just eliminated yesterday. I'll play that clip a little bit later of what Nick Wright said. I think it's worth a conversation. Brian Windhorst had something about Giannis offers and the teams out there that can offer the most. And he actually talked specifically about the Lakers and the Knicks. So I'll get into that. We got some games coming up tonight. The Knicks and the Celtics, Warriors and the Wolves. Obviously, we got the news yesterday about Tatum tears his Achilles. The kind of the impact that's going to have on the rest of the league. Just awful news for him, awful news for the Celtics, and then, what it means for the NBA. And then I saw one other thing that I want to play as well. Adam Silver was talking about how they've kind of changed some of the rules for the playoffs, and was giving credit to Joe Dumars, somebody that was obviously a part of the bad boy Pistons back in the day, and how maybe you're seeing a little bit rougher of a style in the NBA. They're letting them play. And I think most fans are saying that they're okay with it, that they like it. So Astley, at the end of the show, we do it every Wednesday. Something to keep in mind. I'll get into more Ashley as we get kind of towards the end of the show. I'll ask you guys, you got something specific for me, we'll get into it. We obviously get into anything we want from there. Thank you for being a part of the channel. Thank you for being a part of the show. If you guys don't mind, please subscribe to the channel. Consider being a member. I'll have another member show coming up on Friday. Friday's going to be a little bit interesting. Friday, I'm not going to be here. Friday, I'm going to be down at Harris Resort SoCal. So I'm looking at potentially doing a partnership with them, some contacts that I know there from my days over at 710 ESPN. So I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be doing my show from there. So when I do my member show as well, I'll be doing it from Harris Resort SoCal. Okay, let's we got to make some moves here, guys. We got to make some moves. This is actually one of my favorite things to do with the channel, is kind of combine. You got to combine everything that you know, anything that you learned in the business, put it all together, and that's going to be part of the fun, I guess you can say, in this off season, is thinking of different ways to kind of add to the channel and add to the scope of things as we get ready for next season when that comes along. All right, let me look at some of the comments here, and then we'll get the show started. Let me see what we got here. What are people saying? If Thunder win, remember Lakers game versus them on April 6th when they were number one ranked. Okay. All right. Fair about that one. My only issue with any of this stuff, when any of this stuff about, hey, look what the Lakers did in the regular season, is look what happened to them in the playoffs. That's my only issue. If anybody wants to bring up, by the way, you're not wrong. Lakers looked phenomenal against the Thunder. This is why a lot of people were picking the Lakers over the Minnesota Timberwolves, why a lot of people are saying, hey, Lakers might have a path here to the Western Conference Finals. They fell flat on their face in the playoffs, and it's very, very hard to look back at the regular season. But I know what you're talking about, and it's very, very fair to say, and then even in that second game, we know what happened with Luka. Bron is coming back to the Lakers. Live with it. Slow down, everybody. I mean, don't take away some of my content here. I got content that I'm working on here. Let me play at least an angle that has him going back to Cleveland. Good morning from Mexico. Gustavo, thank you, brother. I appreciate you being a part of the show. A little disappointed in you, Gustavo. This whole time. You're listening from Mexico. Not one time did you say, hey, Al, why don't you come do the show from Mexico? Not one time have you said that. Estonia, thank you for being a part of the show. I appreciate you. Missed the show? Yes, go back. All right, there were a couple quotes in here. Obstacles can't stop you. Problems can't stop you. Most of all, other people can't stop you. Only you can stop you. Phenomenal quote right there. Great quote. Felix, let's see what we have. Yeah, I say that a lot. Yeah, that's kind of my filler. You know what I mean? Everybody sometimes has a filler. And if you do what we do, when you feel like you got to keep running your mouth, sometimes you need some fillers. Who was right, Slee, 2 days ago about the Mavs getting the number one pick? I spot on called it. Yeah, that's kind of been, that honestly added such an interesting wrinkle to the NBA, that the Mavs got the number one pick and that San Antonio ended up. It created so much more content this week. I mean, I was walking into this week. I'm like, all right, well, I hope you guys enjoy my breakdown of the Pacers and the Cavs. But anyways, it has added kind of a completely different element of content and really just kind of interest. All right, let's see what else we got here. See if we get one more here, and then we'll get things started. Jokic had a monster night, just like I predicted. Luckily, Shea came alive too, and Thunder eventually won the game. Okay, let's get the show started. And I'll start off with this comment here. Listen, I know there are a lot of people on this channel that, follow typically the content because I throw up a lot of Lakers content. That's kind of how the channel has been built. At the same time, I hope you guys are also watching the playoffs and enjoying the NBA, because Laker fan or not, there's some really good basketball being played. For me, it's different, and I've kind of mentioned this before. I've been watching the Lakers my entire life. I've been covering the team now for about 9 years, if you count this year as well. And all good. Enjoy doing it. But I'm also an NBA fan. I'm a basketball fan. I think the further and further kind of my career is around Lakers and NBA, I also enjoy watching other teams. I enjoy what front offices are doing a good job, how they're building their roster, how they're building their team, how they're developing, all that stuff. I just enjoy it. Yesterday, I'm watching the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. I'm going to tie this back to the Lakers, but I'm watching just phenomenal basketball. I listen, we can kind of, there's plenty of angles to take here, but it was an incredible basketball game from a team perspective, from individuals perspective. It was kind of crazy watching it go back and forth. You got the Denver Nuggets with Nikola Jokic, who's won 3 MVPs, who is trying to do everything he can to get his squad back to the Western Conference Finals. And by the way, if he gets them to the Western Conference Finals and they get past OKC in a critical Game 5, then they're probably the favorite to win the whole thing, just based upon what's happening. Cavs are out. Boston, I think it's just a matter of time until they're out. Knicks will be a favorite as well, just because of what they're doing in the Eastern Conference and the talent that they have. And here's Jokic. Bucket after bucket, shot clock running down, fadeaway threes. Like, I don't even know what Jokic is doing. And then on the other end, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trying to take his squad, a team that's never been to they've been to the NBA Finals, never won an NBA championship. It's not like the franchise has been around for that long. We obviously know that they were moved from Seattle to OKC. He's doing everything he can. He's the favorite to go win the MVP this year. He's hitting buckets over Jamal Murray, getting and ones. He, with the game, a one-possession game, pulling up and hitting a 3 at the top of the key to give the Oklahoma City Thunder a 6-point lead and kind of ice the game. Just a phenomenal performance from, I thought, both teams, and I thought that the 2 stars in this. I mean, look at Jokic's numbers. Jokic went 44, 15, and 5. He shot 17 of 25 from the field. Go on the other end and go look at Shai Gilgeous. Shai, 31, 6, and 7 with 2 steals and 2 block shots. He shot 12 of 23 from the field. Now, it's always going to be other guys that win the game. A lot of that. If you go see Dort yesterday, he hit 3 threes in a row at a critical stage in the game when it looked like OKC was going to lose the game. They end up outscoring the Denver Nuggets 34-19. Phenomenal basketball. A real missed opportunity for Denver, just because it felt like not that they were dominating the game, but they had a good 6 to 10 point lead, or maybe you want to call it 5 to 8 point lead for most of the game, other than the first couple minutes of the game. But after that first quarter, it felt like, all right, Denver's kind of starting to take a little bit control of this game. And it was the young team that ends up coming back and winning the game and look like more of a veteran team. Let me tell you what is dangerous with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And we'll talk Lakers here in just a second and kind of where the Lakers are in the Western Conference. But let me tell you what's dangerous about the Thunder. I feel like they're learning on the fly. And I feel like, this team, as many wins as it had, a 68-win team in the regular season. I still think they got some flaws, but 68 wins in the regular season. Shai, obviously, one of the best players in the league, however you want to describe what he did. All these other, they added the Hartenstein and the Alex Caruso to give them a little bit of kind of some veteran leadership, I guess you want to call it, a little bit of experience. But what's scary about the Thunder is if they get one this year, and here they are taking on a Denver Nuggets team and kind of learning on the fly how to be, how to gain experience as they go, because they really are doing it on the fly. That's going to be scary for the rest of the Western Conference. And they were able to do it yesterday. It was the inexperienced team that looked more experienced at the end. And, obviously they're trying to put themselves in a position. I don't think the series is over by any stretch of the imagination. I think Denver could easily win Game 6, and then it comes back to OKC. And now OKC's got to try to do it again with all the pressure and all the vets that are sitting in the Denver Nuggets locker room and all these guys that have been there, done that. Nothing really kind of surprises them at this point. I thought it was phenomenal basketball. I thought it was a really, really exciting game. And I was a little bit surprised when OKC was down 7 or 8 points in that fourth quarter, they went on a run. I mean, they might have been down 9. If I'm right, I think they might have been down 9 points. And they went on a run. And once they did, Denver seemed like they had no answer. And every time OKC needed a big bucket, they were getting it from Dort. They were getting it from Shea. They were getting it from Jalen Williams. Just a phenomenal basketball game. And, as that game kind of continued, you just got to see that some of the elite right now in the Western Conference is pretty fun to watch. All right, let me look at a couple of the comments here. And, for those who were watching that game and have some thoughts on the game, we'll get into that here as well. Who do you got between OKC versus Wolves? Not yet done, I think, with OKC. Not yet done. My simple answer here is if OKC is in the Western Conference Finals and they're playing Minnesota, I really, really like OKC. I really, really like OKC. All right, let's see what we got here. As crazy it sounds, Westbrook, the X factor in that Denver OKC series. Yeah, I don't know if certainly when he has a good game, it's huge for them. I think there's kind of more that comes down to, but I know what you're talking about. I know what you're saying. I think you're talking more specifically about. I think for me, it's do you have depth? Do you have enough depth? The OKC Thunder are going to play 8 or 9 guys. That's not going to be the advantage that Denver has. So I understand what you're referring to when you say that. OKC would beat the Wolves. Ant-Man went for old heads, not younger and better than him. I still got my questions about the Minnesota Timberwolves as they, by the way, demolished the Lakers. So, what the hell do I know? But I got some hesitations when it comes to Minnesota. We'll wait on that one because I still think that there's, obviously still a lot of basketball left in that series. Joker went 4 for 6 in the fourth. Teammates 1 for 14, can't win with no help. This is how they win. When the Denver Nuggets win, typically Jokic is going to have a good game, but typically Jokic also has a ton of assists. Jokic is also doing things that he's getting Aaron Gordon involved. Jamal Murray is cooking. I mean, Laker fans know this better than anybody else. When Jamal Murray cooks, and he didn't cook yesterday, I think he was from the field. I think he had a very, very low percentage. What Jamal Murray go? 10 of 27, 3 of 13 from the 3-point line. And listen, his stat line says 28 points, but Jamal Murray took way too many shots to only have 28 points. So I think, Christian Brown went 3 of 12 from the field. So I think what you're referring, Michael Porter Jr. was just 1 of 7. The way Denver wins is everybody gets involved. Everybody's an asset. Everybody's dangerous. That wasn't the case yesterday. So I think that's a good observation there of some of his teammates and who helped and who didn't. All right, let me see what we got here. Yes, learning culture. They have their head on straight. Yeah, listen, there's something about a team that hasn't got there and they're in the process of getting there. And if they get past the Denver Nuggets, which is obviously an interesting challenge because it's a team that's already won a championship, now you're talking about, okay, now we had to go through a championship team and the best player in the world to get to the Western Conference Finals. Who's in front of us? It's Minnesota. Okay, well, Minnesota is going to be much more to OKC's level if they get to the next round. And what I mean by, I'm not even talking about talent-wise. I'm just talking about experience-wise. Now, listen, OKC or Minnesota's they got Mike Conley. They got guys that have been there before, guys that have had deep playoff runs. Julius Randle's been in the league for a little bit, but it definitely evens out. This, to me, is a much bigger challenge for the Thunder than Minnesota would be. All Denver needed was for Murray to make a couple of shots down the stretch to take the pressure off Joker, and he failed. Kills the Lakers down the stretch. Oh, man. Something that's funny. I don't think most Laker fans think this is funny, but it is kind of funny. You know how many times I get people that will hit me either on YouTube or on X or something like that will say, are you kidding me? Julius Randle hit all those shots against the Lakers. Now he can't hit one. Or Jamal Murray all of a sudden can't hit a shot, but against the Lakers, he's freaking Michael Jordan out there. I know. It feels that way. It definitely feels that way. Listen to OKC's interviews. They say the right things. Listen, I think there's a little bit of Slee. Series should be over, to be honest. Slee, or Chet choked game 2. It comes with the territory, right? That comes with the inexperience. And you're probably not wrong, but that kind of comes with the inexperience and everything else. All right, let me forward here. Let's see what we got here. If Nuggets win, Westbrook will finally get a ring. Yeah, they got a tall task in front of them. We'll see what they can do. Okay, so here, part of the reason why I want to talk about that game is because, number one, it was a great game. All right, so hopefully those that are here got a chance to watch it. And by the way, I think this is a perfect comment. If Denver wins the next game, they would game 6. We'll find out a lot about OKC. I'm with you, but here's the good thing for the Oklahoma City Thunder is every game that goes by, it should get a little less intimidating. Now, if you get a game 7 and it's at home and you won 68 games this year, and you know that if you win game 7 at home, you could very well, you'll be the heavy favorites to win an NBA championship. That's real pressure too. And what will it mean for some of those players? So I think you're right on that. But both teams have proved Denver has won at OKC. OKC has won at Denver. So, we'll obviously kind of see how things shape up. Here's a question that I got for everybody that's hanging out, that's tuning in. Cheers to you, by the way. Everybody that's hanging out, watching the show right now. Where are Lakers in the Western Conference right now? Where are they in the West? Because if I just go off the top of my head and I say, all right, where are Lakers positioned in the Western Conference as we sit here today? Listen, I know we got a full offseason. I know that roster needs improving. I know Rob Pelinka has basically continued to promise that, hey, they're going to do what they need to do in the offseason. I hope he's not over-promising because people like me don't forget some of the stuff that he says. And he's got a history of over-promising, I'll tell you that, at least when it came down to the trade deadline. Not this trade deadline, previous trade deadlines last summer, but he delivered. He got, obviously he got the Lakers Luka, so we'll shut up about that. But let's kind of figure out how many teams are better than the Lakers right now as we sit here today in the Western Conference, because this is how many teams you're going to have to jump based on what you do in the offseason to get back in the mix. Okay, let's make this very, very easy. Let's just go through the teams that are still left in this. Okay, OKC is better than the Lakers. They play in a 7-game set. OKC is better than the Lakers. You guys want to go back to the regular season and make a case that that's not the case because Lakers won in the regular season? Feel free to do so. I'm not going to do that. Denver is better than the Lakers. In a 7-game set, Denver, I think, would beat the Los Angeles Lakers. Minnesota, I don't want anyone making an argument against Minnesota. The Wolves beat the Lakers in 5 games. Before you got to sit back and enjoy and say, man, I'm ready for this long playoff run, you're already booking a ticket to wherever the hell you're going on vacation. I don't want to say Cancun again. Too many Cancuns out there. Okay, so that's 3 right there. If the Golden State Warriors are healthy, if they got their entire squad, 7-game set, I'm taking the Warriors over the Lakers. There's 4 before I even kind of start giving things some thought. I would even put Houston in front of the Lakers. That's 5 right there. Before I even count any of these other teams, let me do this. I'll say the Clippers, you want to say it's a wash, maybe both teams, it would be a really good series. I won't put Clippers in front of them. I won't put San Antonio or Dallas or any of these other teams in front of them, even though we know they're going to be better just based on getting some of their players back. But I think it's very, very fair to say, and I think I'm being fair, and I think it's a safe thing to say. And if people want to come in and disagree, that's fine. That's the whole point of the show. I think before we even walk into the offseason, you got 5 teams as is. And a lot of this is based on just what I saw in the playoffs. So, whatever the regular season told us about the Lakers, the playoffs tell you something different. Whatever the regular season might show the strengths and the weaknesses, and the regular season, oh my gosh, look where they are in the seeding, all that stuff, that's fine. But when you play in the playoffs in the postseason, that's when you really find out what kind of squad that you have. I'm working on getting Amin El-Hassan back on the show. I do want him to come back, and I want him to talk about why he thought what he thought 2 months before it actually happened. But he said the playoffs are going to be a completely different thing. Whatever they're doing in the regular season, this is before they locked up the number 3 seed. He said, come postseason, it's going to be completely different. You can't really count on what you did in the regular season. I think right out the gate, before I even go any further, Minnesota, Houston, OKC, Denver, and the Golden State Warriors. I would say those 5 teams, as we walk into the offseason, are already better than the Lakers. So what Rob Pelinka and, the front office has to do, they have to not only figure out a way to build around Luka, not only figure out what LeBron's future is going to be, not only figure out, do they keep a guy like Austin Reeves or not, figure out what the right pricing is for Dorian Finney-Smith and determining whether he's going to come back. Do you want to keep Rui Hachimura in your lineup? Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Dalton Connect, is there, still a lot of hope with him. And then you got to figure out how to get bigs, rebounding, and how JJ Redick is going to be a better coach as we go into next year. But I think before we even get anything started, they're 6th in the Western Conference. That's where I would put them. That's how far I think, watching them in the playoffs and watching them in the postseason, and then watching OKC and Denver and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and watching Houston go 7 against Golden State, watching the Warriors without Steph Curry. I mean, obviously we all know how great Steph Curry is, and he's showing how great he is, because the moment he came out of this, postseason, obviously everything changed for the Golden State Warriors. That's how much work the Lakers have. That's how much work is going to be on the shoulders of the front office. That's how much the Lakers got to figure out a way to get back into the mix. And I really believe that that's how far back that they are. That doesn't mean they can't make a lot of changes in the offseason. That doesn't mean that Luka won't be better next year because he gets a full offseason with the Lakers. That doesn't mean JJ won't learn a lot from his coaching. That doesn't mean that a couple small tweaks can really kind of change what this team looks like based on just getting more size and getting more rebounding and getting better wings and whatever the case is. It doesn't mean it can't change. All I'm saying is, as we look and we sit here today, that's where I feel like the Lakers are in the Western Conference. All right, let's take a look at everybody's comments here. All right, Lakers need to trade AR for the Rookie of the Year. I think they're going to hold on to that player, and I'm talking about the San Antonio Spurs, and they're going to go big game hunting. They're going to go big game hunting. Trust me on that one. There is just something about when you think of where the San Antonio Spurs are today, and they got the number 2 pick in the draft. They're going to save their assets, and they're going to go big game hunting. We'll see. I'm going to come back to Giannis here in a second and what they end up doing here. Let's see. Let's get another one here. Lakers lottery team next year. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think, my hope was, as I said, Lakers are probably 6th in the Western Conference. I thought people are going to come in here and, basically say that, hey, Al, no, everything's okay. They're third, they're 4th, they're this. I didn't think people are going to say they're a lottery team. I don't think they're a lottery team. I really don't think that. That doesn't mean that they don't have a lot of work to do. Here's the worst part about the Western Conference. I'll tell you the worst part about the West. The worst part about the Western Conference is it's only getting better. It's only getting better. The East is actually the conference where the East is going to be very interesting, because there's going to be a lot of teams that think they're, you think Orlando, you think Indiana, you think Detroit, kind of some teams that are up and coming. Milwaukee, I don't know if this changes their opinion about Giannis. The Knicks, there's going to be teams out there saying, hey, we'd be top 4 in the East. Now, I don't know what it's really going to mean for you if you're taking on a good Western Conference team. All right, let me look at a couple more here. Lakers are 6th best in the West right now. I agree with this. 6th best. Matt Brown, 5th or 6th in the West. If Lakers get good players around them, I see a top 5, top 4 seed in the West, accounting for West improving, and maybe some injuries. Here's what happens in the NBA every single year. I'll give you a good example for this past season. Every year you walk in and you say, oh my God, all these teams are going to be good. And then 2 teams aren't good. That's just how it works. Okay, let me give you the 2 teams this year. This year you thought the Pelicans had a squad on paper. They traded for DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Zion Williamson, Herb Jones, who am I missing here? B.I. when he was there. They had a squad on paper. And then you know what happened? They got some injuries. The season was over. The Phoenix Suns had a squad on paper. All right, put the pieces together. Does it mix well? It doesn't mix well. Take the Phoenix Suns out. That's always going to happen. You're always going to have probably two teams that you walk in and you're saying, oh my God, the West is 10 deep. And then it's not. It's about 6 or 8 deep at the most. But, this year you got two teams already that are not even in the playoffs that everybody thinks, watch out, the Mavs should be able to make some noise this upcoming year. When I say noise, listen, they're going to need Kyrie Irving to come back. Yes, they get Cooper Flag. Well, he's just a rookie. But if they stay in the mix and they stay around, maybe they do trade Gafford and they get another guard. And now all of a sudden they could sustain what they have up until Kyrie comes back. And then that's a good team. The San Antonio Spurs, you go trade for Giannis. I obviously don't need to tell anybody here what they could be. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Okay, we're going to get into Bron here. Don't worry about Bron. We're going to get into Bron here. I'm going to play that clip from Nick Wright here in just a second. Just want to see if we got any more here of kind of Lakers in the Western Conference and where they are. Lakers are 8th in my opinion. Lakers are a center and a two-way wing away from championship contenders. Yeah, the problem with the Lakers is just the ingredients that they have was never going to be enough. It wasn't going to be enough. And were they able to get away with it in the regular season? Sure. But the moment they got into the postseason, they were exposed. So I do agree they got specific needs that they have. That could be one of the positive things, I think, for the Lakers. One of the positive things for the Lakers could just simply be that you know exactly what they need and you know what they have is not enough. And now they could figure it out from there. So I think there's something that that comes with that. Let me get one more here, and then I want to play that clip. I want to play that clip that I'm talking about with Nick Wright, and we'll talk a little bit LeBron. With Mavs and Spurs getting top 2 picks, the West only gets deeper, which pushes the Lakers lower by default. Yeah, I'm sure Rob Pelinka and the rest of the crew, they weren't too excited when they saw, so Washington doesn't have the number 1 pick. Charlotte doesn't have the number 2 pick. Even Utah, if you want to say Utah's in the top 3, they just wanted to see bum squads get these top picks. What they didn't want to see happen is, are you kidding me? The Western Conference, and it's Dallas and it's San Antonio getting the top 2 picks. I'm sure most of the Western Conference wasn't too excited about that. Shout out. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. I hope nobody ever needs an injury attorney. I hope, no one's ever in a spot or a position where something happens with a family member, something happens at work, something happens when you're driving, something happens. I know there's so many different things that can happen. If you are someone you know is in a serious situation, I want you to reach out to Brad Wallace at the Wallace firm. You can reach out to me. I'll make a personal introduction. Here's somebody that I've known for about 5 years that is a supporter of the channel and just wants to basically offer his services if you need him. I know this is, this industry is not, hey, I just pick up the phone and I call and it's not something we need on a day-to-day basis. But what I will tell you is if something happens and you're looking for somebody that you feel like you can trust, the industry is all over the place. You're bombarded, I'm sure, with all these ads in the industry. I could tell you firsthand, Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, he's the best in the business. He can help anybody in the state of California. I've talked about this case that he had with a client of his against Home Depot. Yeah, how did that go? This was about a month ago. The jury delivered a $4.6 million verdict on behalf of the Wallace firm and his client and found Home Depot responsible for nearly $3 million of that amount. I give that examples because it doesn't matter who he's going up against. It doesn't matter if it's a huge corporation, it's a small corporation. If somebody is in the wrong, Brad Wallace will find a way to make sure that his clients are taken care of. The website is wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. That's the website to get a free consultation. That's the website that you could kind of just start the process to explain to somebody at the Wallace firm or explain to Brad Wallace your situation, and I'm sure he's going to be able to help you. If you want to send me a personal email, I'll send you a personal introduction to Brad Wallace. Click on the description. Again, you can help anybody in the state of California. All right, we're cruising right now. We're cruising. Look at us. We are moving. Show's moving here a little bit. All right, let's talk LeBron here for a quick second. This came out yesterday, and I'm gonna play this for you guys because I think it's an interesting. But this came out yesterday. So here's what happens a lot of the time. A lot of the time, I do my show, and because I do my show at 8 a.m., there's probably a lot of content that comes out after my show, or maybe a story that comes out, or somebody gave a good opinion that I was like, hey, that's a good topic. So that happens a lot. So yesterday, this was before the Cleveland Cavaliers got eliminated from the playoffs. By the way, the Cavs, a squad that had won 64 games during the regular season. They faced their injuries. They did. But Indiana also, they stole game 2. I don't know what how the Cleveland Cavaliers were not able to finish that game. Game 2 was basically the series. They went down 0-2. But they had injuries. Darius Garland, Evan Mobley. I know Hunter got injured as well. Donovan Mitchell looked like he was just basically limping and laboring. Didn't play in the second half of game 4. And yesterday, whatever he was putting up was just sheer determination. The Cavs are out. So the Cavs are done. Listen to this yesterday. Nick Wright was on with Colin Cowherd, and I want to play this clip because Nick Wright is basically making a case that if you're LeBron James, what is it at this stage of your career that's most important? By the way, I think it's a fair question. What is it that's most important? You and I, we just talked about how tough the West is going to be. We just talked about how competitive it's going to be, how tough it's going to be. Take a listen to Nick Wright and him making a case here. Maybe LeBron should look elsewhere other than the Los Angeles Lakers. And frankly, I think there's a lot of Laker fans that would be okay with it. Take a listen here.
If you are LeBron James going into year 23 and you're surveying the landscape and you're like, well, I plan to stay in Los Angeles. I want to stay in Los Angeles. But that team from my home state that won 64 games and then got clocked in round 2 like it has every year since I was gone that they actually made the playoffs, out east where Boston is a non-factor, where Giannis might leave, where I could just be the conquering hero back home once again and sign with them for nothing to, in year 23, get my 5th championship and certainly my 11th trip to the finals, it's at least worth considering. Now, you'd have to convince maybe the Cavs that what they're going to have to trade for Bronny, but aside from that, it works quite well. It's something to think about.
Yeah. All right, let's stop it right there. Okay, listen, I'm going to go back to what I was saying here, jacking up my levels here. Who's jacking up these? Al, that's you. That's you screwing up the levels. All right, let me lob your opinion in this. Okay, lob your opinion in here. Listen, I'm gonna give you guys my own opinion on this. If you told me today, LeBron's career with the Lakers, he's got one more year left with the Lakers. All right, roll the ball back out. Let's see what the Lakers are able to do. LeBron is still very, very effective. LeBron is still very, very good. Before LeBron, I thought got that injury against the Celtics. I thought LeBron was probably top 7 in the NBA. That's how good he was playing this season. And I don't think the Lakers suffered because of LeBron. I don't think it was LeBron's fault why the Lakers struggled this year. All right, let me play out that scenario. If you told me LeBron said, hey, guys, 7 years in LA, I was a Laker for 7 years, I'm moving on. There's either he retired or which I don't think he's going to retire, or he says, you know what, I'm going to play out exactly what Nick Wright just said here. I'm going to go back to Cleveland. I'm going to go back to where I'm originally from, where I did win an NBA championship. That squad is completely set up. And you know who they're missing? They're missing me. And if I can go back there, and I think the points that he was making about, listen, the Jason Tatum injury is a real injury. That's an injury that has a drastic effect on the entire Eastern Conference. And I think everything was running through the Boston Celtics. I mean, I know before his injury, they're basically getting ready to be down 3-1. But nobody, I think not many people thought the Knicks would beat the Boston Celtics. The Giannis thing, I think, is wildly interesting. If he decided that he was going to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers and he was going to take a wildly amount of less money to go ahead and make that happen, I get it. Okay. And you know what I would do as a Laker fan? I'd say, okay,
So now start building this entire roster around Luka Doncic and start doing everything you possibly can to kind of churn that next chapter and move forward. I'm good with either. I mean, for me, I'm looking at the Western Conference, and unless drastic things happen this offseason, you don't have to be crazy drastic. You just have to be, you got to find all the pieces that fit, and then kind of everything else has to work out perfectly. Everything else has to work out perfectly. Everybody's healthy. Luka's in the best shape of his life. JJ Redick learns from some of his mistakes. They are able to come up with trades that are perfect fits on the team. LeBron is great again in his 23rd season. I mean, you're asking for a lot in order for this upcoming season to come. And you look at the situation, the predicament, you say, okay, hey, Lakers got a legitimate shot of beating OKC, Denver, San Antonio, Dallas, go down the list of all the teams that we're talking about, Houston. I'm not losing sleep over either. I'm not. And by the way, I'm a LeBron fan. I'm a LeBron fan. I think a lot of times that people are too critical on LeBron James. Laker fans are too critical. I'm like, you know what? People are always bitching and complaining about LeBron either way. But what Nick Wright just laid out, do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. I think LeBron's staying in LA. I think LeBron keeps telling us he's staying in LA until he's done. It's just a question of if we want to believe him or not. And I listen, I do believe him. I do think he'll probably eventually stay in LA. But it's interesting. The way the Cavs went out, 64-team win. You know what they're missing? They're missing LeBron. If you told me LeBron was on that team, if LeBron wanted to, and listen, the Cavs would make it happen, I think, in a heartbeat. If LeBron wanted to, if LeBron told the Cavs, hey, listen, I'm interested in coming back here, make a couple tweaks and changes, try to get as much money as you can, freed up, blah, 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 and I'll figure out a way to come here, and let me see if I could go get my 5th NBA championship. The question is, I just don't know if that's on LeBron's top priority list. I don't think for LeBron, at this stage of his career, his number one priority is winning a championship. I just don't know, because if it was, I don't know if it's going to happen in LA. I think for Bron, if you start looking at what his top priorities are, I want to raise my family in LA. I want to continue the business ventures that I have. I don't want to, lob back and forth from Cleveland to LA and all that stuff. I think those things are more important. It's not to say that LeBron is not still highly motivated to win an NBA championship, but he's only got so much juice that he can, figure out. I think also the fact that Luka's on the team now, there is a part of Laker fans and there is a part of this fan base that's also saying to themselves, when will we go 100% building around Luka? That's going to come sooner or later. That's obviously, that's either going to come in a year or it's going to come in 2 years, or maybe it's going to start this summer where they start that complete rebuilding process to every move we make accommodates one guy. That's what Dallas did when they were, when Luka was in Dallas. That's what the Mavs did. And the Mavs found themselves in the Western Conference Finals, and then they found themselves in the NBA Finals. Did they win it all? They didn't. That's no, of course they didn't. But should they have blown up the roster after they got to the NBA Finals? I think everybody would agree that that probably wasn't the smartest decision. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments. By the way, I say this, and I should have probably prefaced before I started this. I'm not telling you that I think that's going to happen, but I do think it's an interesting proposition. And I think if LeBron right now was saying to himself, all right, I've been here for 7 years with the Lakers. I did win an NBA championship. Clearly, the team went a different direction, whether he agreed with it, didn't agree with it. Anthony Davis was his guy. Clearly, the Lakers are now kind of going to start focusing all their attention around Luka Doncic. That's exactly what they should be doing. That's no shot at LeBron. I think it's interesting. And I think the fact that the Cavs got eliminated in the second round of the playoffs after they won 64 games also is an interesting. It's not like we're talking about the Pistons, right? No, we're talking about the Cavs, where he's originally from, where he's got obviously history, where he'll have a statue, and where he won an NBA championship. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Let's see what we got here. Cleveland would be like a retirement home for LeBron. He would only need 20 minutes a game during the regular season. Okay. Let's see one here. Bron is making too much money in LA. He ain't leaving. By the way, you're not wrong from that perspective because he'll probably get 52 million. I think 52 million, 52 or 54. But I think if he is it 54? It might be 54. And if he does that 1+1 that we've talked about, who was it? I was on with Eric Pincus was on here. We're talking about most likely what is LeBron going to do. LeBron will most likely cut up that contract that he has with the Lakers and sign another 1+1. And he'll put himself in a position where, all right, I'm going to make 54 this year, and then I have the option of making another 54 next year. Let's see what we got here. LeBron enjoys the fact that y'all think he put the Cavs over the top. That's all there. Know that he ain't going. He just likes it. Okay, let's see what else we got here. We traded all our young talented guys to appease LeBron. Kind of had to. You didn't have a choice. The bubble championship is not BS, just like the Spurs 1999 50-game lockout season isn't BS. This is what having LeBron on the Lakers, all types of bullshit thrown up. It's all nonsense. I think this is an interesting conversation. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's interesting just for the mere fact that it's Cleveland and how the Cavs went out. That's it. No other reason. This isn't me saying that LeBron would go to Detroit or he'd go to the Milwaukee Bucks or he'd go to the Orlando Magic or he'd go to Boston. No. This is more just the franchise that he used to play for, that one of the more iconic championships ever, in NBA history, down 3-1. He wins a championship. They hadn't won a chip, I think, in Cleveland in 50 years or something like that. If you look at all the sports, it's more for those reasons. Let's see. So he takes less for Cleveland and wants max money from LA, not going to do it. I think at this stage of his career, I think at this stage of his career, I don't know if winning a championship is his number one priority. I would love for LeBron to leave LA and Lakers get nothing back. Just to you, ungrateful fan base, how bad they truly are. Seems like they forget how trash Lakers were before he came to LA. Sky, I don't think anybody's saying that. Listen, I'll be the first one to tell you. The Lakers were absolutely irrelevant until LeBron came to LA. And he was. And I know a lot of people don't want to admit that. Go look at what the Lakers were doing year after year. And I'm talking about actually on the basketball floor. They were irrelevant. They weren't one of the top teams in the NBA. LeBron got here and they quickly put him back to relevancy. And I don't think that's a fan base that's being ungrateful for it. I think it's a fan base that's sitting back and saying, okay, well, he's been here for 7 years. What now? Okay, listen, in LeBron's 8th year, if they got a legitimate shot at winning an NBA championship, cool. But the difference you got to understand, that the difference is they just traded for Luka. So there's this new chapter that you're looking to potentially churn. And you can't fully churn that new chapter until LeBron is gone. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You can't until LeBron actually is gone. That's not LeBron's fault. It's the fact that LeBron's 40 and Luka Doncic is 26. You can't accommodate both. Maybe you could accommodate both for one more year, but we'll see what happens after that. Accommodate both for at least one more year. All right, let's look at some more of these comments. I got a lot of let's see what we got. I got a lot of supers here that I got to get into. John Wayne. Wow, history repeating itself. Derrick Rose. Tatum gets hurt. Derrick Rose gets hurt. Dwight Howard to LA. Pacers good but not great. Another finals appearance for the fraudulent king. John, I know you don't think he's fraudulent. I know you don't actually believe that. I know you deep down inside know that that's one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and there's literally no question about it. I know you know that. I know you do. I know you do. Let's get another one in here. AR plus Gabe for Gafford and Max. Mavs get a playmaker before Kyrie comes back. Lakers get defense plus center, Rui, DK plus first, Cam Johnson, Andrew Wiggins. If I'm going to be honest with everybody, I don't think the Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks are making a deal anytime soon. I don't think so. I wish. I mean, if they could try to get there's good chemistry between Daniel Gafford and Luka Doncic, and the Lakers are obviously desperate for a big. I just don't think I don't think that front office is going to be looking the Lakers' way anytime soon. By the way, if you were curious on this, because I was, article came out yesterday from the Mavs. And this is Tim McMahon that was reporting this. See if I could find the actual quote. Sources told ESPN that Patrick Dumont, who just finished his first year as the Mavs governor, considers the opportunity to be in a position to draft a generational talent such as Flag as a gift. While Dumont has given Harrison great leeway to run basketball operations, the governor has final decision on all personal matters. And basically, I think what Tim McMahon was saying is the Dallas Mavericks will be drafting Cooper Flag with the number 1 pick. So whatever conversation, we were having some of this conversation yesterday about, hey, should they draft him? Okay, what if they can go get Giannis Antetokounmpo? Would you rather have Giannis at 30 years old, or would you rather have Cooper Flag, who's 18, will be 19 in December? Which one would you rather have? I think he's 19, something like that. Which one would you rather have? And the only reason why I think this was part of it was a conversation was because Nico Harrison clearly didn't care about the 25-year-old Luka Doncic and was trying to win now. Well, why would he care about an 18-year-old Cooper Flag? He's trying to win now. If I could go get arguably the best player in the world or one of the best players in the world, then that kind of falls more along the lines of how Nico Harrison thinks. And Patrick Dumont's coming out. It's like, yeah, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. That ain't happening. By the way, if I'm Dallas, I'm keeping Cooper Flag too. I'm keeping Cooper Flag. I think that's the right thing to do there. So, anyways, in regards to some of these trades, I do not think that the Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks will be making a trade together anytime soon. Northborough AES, please be advised, Boston is going to have a fire sale. White, Holiday, Horford, Zink, all will be available. New owner, diabolical salaries. Okay. You guys are actually hitting some topics that I had here. The Tatum injury, we obviously know what happened with Tatum, torn Achilles. By the way, this means probably out for most of next season, if not all of next season. So just the worst scenario that you could think of. I mentioned this yesterday. The Boston Celtics were the class of the Eastern Conference. Cleveland, who's clearly beatable, they just got beat in 5 games. The Indiana Pacers, the New York Knicks, the Orlando Magic, the Detroit Pistons. The East just ain't the West, and that's the best way to put it. What happens to the Boston Celtics moving forward, it may never – they could easily just not be back in championship competition for a couple of years. That's how long it could take them to get back below the cap and stop paying all those luxury tax and start trading away some of these other players so they can kind of clean up their books as new ownership comes in. The interesting thing for me is how aggressive teams in the Eastern Conference are now going to try to be. There's an opening. There's a window. I mean, by the time tonight's all done, the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks can be the 2 teams representing the Eastern Conference. You don't think right now Detroit is saying, oh my God, we're not that far away. Orlando's saying, we got to go get somebody in the offseason. Maybe Giannis in Milwaukee is saying, pump the brakes for one more year. Let's not make a trade. Giannis, stay for one more year. And let's see if we could put a squad around you. The problem with them is Dame is injured. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to get their most value trading right now for Giannis. But the East all of a sudden becomes wide open. And obviously what that does to everybody else, we'll have to wait and see. All right, thank you for the supers, everybody. I appreciate you guys. HH, thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much. Let's get another one in here. Slee, what if Rockets get the freak? There's one. Yeah, the Giannis thing, there was I'm going to read you guys a quote here from, it's like you guys literally know all my topics here. I'm going to read you guys a quote from Brian Windhorst, okay? I'll put it up here for you guys. I'm grabbing this off of Yahoo Sports, but we can look at it together. Let me see here. Present. Share screen. All right, here we go. So let me read this here, just to give everyone a quick idea here. So Brian Windhorst was on Get Up, and he was talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Here's what he said specifically about the Lakers and the Knicks. Could the Lakers make an offer? Yes. Could Giannis come in and say, I'm going nowhere but the Lakers? Yes. And if that happens, that would increase it, as in increase the chances of Giannis becoming a Laker. But I don't think the Lakers or the Knicks could make an offer that's in the top 5 or 6 because Giannis potentially has agency in this. Then you would say that his words would matter a lot. Basically, what he's trying to say is if you kind of scope out the rest of the league and you look at, I'm just going to throw teams out there with a lot of assets. What can San Antonio offer? What can the Houston Rockets offer? What can, I don't know what the assets the Miami Heat have. Maybe Miami doesn't have, nearly as many assets as we think. But I thought I had read a report that he'd be intrigued in being in a state that doesn't have a state tax. So obviously you're looking at the Floridas of the world. You're looking at Texas. What can Dallas offer? Hypothetically, I'm just, making up. Teams are going to have a lot. What can the Oklahoma City Thunder offer? Teams are going to be offering a lot more. And the Houston Rockets, I think, is a good point as well. These are all teams, obviously. None of this helps the Lakers in any sense. Slee, what do you think of Pete Rose in baseball now? Okay, let me star that one. We'll come back to that. Tell me that for Ask Slee. I'll give you my opinion on it. The raised ticket prices in the aftermath of the trade and AG injuries proof Nico knew it was AD and flag for Luka. If so, I think he was smart. Yeah, it's funny. I see people on the conspiracy theory stuff. I see people saying, oh, you're all idiots for thinking there's a conspiracy theory. How could they possibly do it? This and that. Listen, if you don't for a second kind of say to yourself, what the hell just happened there? I mean, I'm not telling you that there is a conspiracy theory that involved 50 different people and everything else. What I'm telling you is that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild that happened, especially for, a specific trade that got so much scrutiny, and then you get the number one pick. I'm not. I told you guys I'm now in on conspiracy theories. If you put a gun to my head and said, "Hey, do you think there was a conspiracy here?" I would tell you no, but don't tell me that you don't stop for a second and say, "What the hell just happened here?" Jokic had a monster just like the Lucky Shea came. Okay, I read that one a little bit earlier. I appreciate all the supers, guys. Thank you for the supers. Let me get one more in here. If LeBron's number one goal is winning a championship, he won't come to the Lakers back in 2008 when 76ers had way more assets and young players with a way higher potential and Rocket was more a competitive team. Kevin, I'll tell you this. I probably butchered what you were saying, but I think what you were trying to say is if his number one goal was winning championships, he wanted to come to the Lakers back in 2018. This is where I pause to you. No, I don't agree with that. I mean, the Lakers had assets. They had all these assets. They had all these young pieces, which is how they got arguably one of the best big men in the league in Anthony Davis. So I think part of LeBron's calculus was, hey, listen, if I come to the Lakers, you guys are a franchise that everything's built off championships. If I come here, we better be trying to win championships. And Jeannie and the entire front office was like, whatever the hell you want, we will accommodate and we will make it happen. It didn't take them very long to play with the young players, and then all the young players were shipped out. Lakers had assets. They just sent a lot of those assets over to New Orleans. And by the way, you know what happened after that? They won an NBA championship. They won a championship in Anthony Davis's first year as a Los Angeles Laker. They won an NBA championship. This is why I don't care about whether it was in the bubble or it wasn't. I don't care because I know Lakers were one of the top 2-3 teams in the league before COVID stopped the NBA. So to me, that doesn't really mean anything because Lakers could have won it that year. Bucks could have won it that year. You thought Clippers could have won it that year, and we know what happened to them. So I don't know how much I agree with that one based on those predicaments. All right. Mavs don't miss the playoffs without the injuries that hit them, not including AD's injuries. Couldn't predict they would even be in the lottery. Yeah, you're right about that. Absolutely. By the way, don't forget this. The Mavs were not trying to be in the lottery. Remember, Anthony Davis came back and they were making a run of trying to get into the playoffs. And they won, if I'm correct here, if I remember correctly, they won their first play-in game and then lost the second play-in game, I want to say, to Memphis. They were one win against Memphis of just making the playoffs and being eliminated by the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then that 1.8% chance, they obviously got it. So they got that 1.8% chance. Okay. I want to look at some of the games coming up tonight. Before I do so, if you guys got some ass sleaze, feel free to throw them in. So, I've mentioned this to you guys before. Every Wednesday we do Ask Slee. You can ask me anything that you want, random stuff all over the place, NBA related, non-NBA related, sports related, not sports related. Any Ask Slees you got, just hashtag Ask Slee so I know to look at that right away. In the comments, feel free to throw them in, and then I'll get some more of these comments, and then we'll get out of here. Okay, coming up tonight. So here's what we got coming up tonight. All right. Let me see here. Okay. Here's what we got coming up tonight. 2 NBA games coming up tonight. Both of them could be elimination games. So the first game is the Knicks and the Celtics. Celtics obviously going to be playing without Jason Tatum. This could be it for the Boston Celtics. I heard some people saying, I still don't count the Celtics out. Celtics are losing the series. That's it. The series is over. The question is just going to be, will it be in 5 games or will it be in 6 games? Will the Celtics find a way to kind of hold on and win one more game? Or are the Knicks able to go back into Boston and win their 3rd road game in this series? That's what Indiana did to Cleveland, by the way. Give the Knicks a ton of credit. You know what's crazy? For anybody that's an NBA fan, the Knicks have a legitimate chance of winning the entire thing. They got a legitimate chance of winning an NBA championship, something they haven't done since the 70s when Phil Jackson was a player. They have a legitimate chance of winning an NBA championship. I know if the Thunder end up beating Denver, Thunder are going to be the heavy favorites. Knicks got a roster. They got a freaking roster. Maybe they don't go deep. They got about 6 players that they can depend on. And Jalen Brunson is just phenomenal. Might be the best player in the playoffs, this playoff run. I mean, every time I watch the Knicks, I'm like, does anybody know how to stop this guy? And nobody does so far in these first 2 rounds. Obviously they beat the Pistons and now they're on the brink of beating the Boston Celtics. So that game coming up tonight, that's an early tip off at 4:00. And then the late game will be the Warriors and the Timberwolves. And I think everybody expects Minnesota to bury the Warriors, call it a day, and then move on to the Western Conference Finals. Those are the 2 games that we got coming up tonight. I think both of those games, they're just not the series that you expected because Steph Curry got hurt and because Jason Tatum got hurt. But the New York Knicks were on their way to going up 3-1. Either way, whether Tatum got injured or not, when Tatum got injured, there's about 3 minutes left in the game, and New York went up 9. They were not losing that game. And all the momentum was on New York's side. So they've just been the better team. No other way to put it. But the Tatum injury just kind of put a nail in the coffin in this series. And then the Warriors and the Timberwolves, Steph went out in the first game, and then, you just expected, well, this was only going to be a matter of time. And Minnesota, finally in the second half of Game 4, actually looked a little bit like the team that beat the Lakers. So those are the 2 games that we got going on tonight. And certainly, obviously, we could be sitting here tomorrow and there could only be one team left or one series left in the second round where everything else could already be figured out. The Pacers are in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Knicks and the Timberwolves are 1 win away. And then OKC and the Denver Nuggets, that's just a phenomenal series. And I don't think anyone would be surprised or shocked that series goes 7 games. Okay, we'll take a look at some ass sleaze here and we'll keep things going. Let me see here. Last thing that I'm going to put here, I'm going to put in the chat. If you guys are yet to be a member, would love for you guys to be a member. $3 a month. I know there's a lot of people that have been very, very nice about donating or gifting out some memberships. Please consider being a member. Would love nothing more than to have you guys here as members. And I'm doing content just for members. I typically do it every Fridays when I do it, but it's just a great way to support the channel. The link is there. If we can get a couple new members, would be phenomenal. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay, this is the random ones here. I like the random ones. Slee, if you notice security following you around in a store, would you continue shopping or leave because you're being profiled? Not continue shopping. I take my time. I would be in no rush. I would be in no rush at all. I would be chilling. I'd be hanging out. I'll tell you guys. Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys a quick story. All right, so this is back in the day. We're talking. I'm probably 8 or 9 years old. So my dad. Let me first say a couple things. First off, Pops passed away back in 2011. So telling an old story about my dad, they're actually kind of fun. They're interesting, but obviously, God rest his soul. Middle Easterners, we own a lot of convenience stores, liquor stores, gas stations, things along those lines. So my dad on Saturdays, back in the day, all right, we're talking, this is, I don't know, 30 plus years ago. My dad on Saturdays would sometimes take me with him, and he'd go say hi to some of his friends that own some of these convenience stores. Just these are friends of his. So he'd go kind of shoot the shit with them. I'm like, Dad, I got nothing going on. So take me with you. And I also knew every liquor store we went to, I would just load up on snacks. I'd get anything I want. A bag of Doritos here, Snickers, this, that, whatever the case is. My dad and I walk into a liquor store, one of his friends. And I walk in. I think I walked in first, or my dad walked in. Whatever it was, like there was a little separation between the two of us. I went right, he went left. I went right because I was going to go. I don't know what candy bar I was going to go get. I'm going to go get my candy bar. My dad said, "Yeah, go get whatever you want." My dad goes left and he starts talking to his friend that's there. The owner of the store didn't know that I was with my dad, so I go right, and I'm just hanging out in the back. I'm trying to figure out, which candy. This is a very big decision at age 8 or 9. Which candy bar I want. And out of nowhere, the owner of the liquor store comes marching over. It's like, what the hell do you think you're doing? Are you stealing that? Are you trying to steal that? I'm like, the hell's going on here? I'm like, that's my dad. And the guy was so embarrassed. I got profiled as an 8-year-old. I got 8-year-old at a liquor store. I'm like, we're from probably the same villages in Iraq. What's going on here? I got profiled. As an 8-year-old, I'm sitting there in the back trying to pick whether I want a Snickers or a Mars bar. Of course, Snickers would win that one. And then my dad comes over and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not doing anything. I'm just picking a candy bar like you told me to. What's your guy doing over here?" Yeah, it was pretty funny. That guy was so embarrassed. All right, let's get a couple more in here. So we watch any WNBA games this season. Caitlin Clark's interesting. Just to be honest with you, I think we all kind of bought into that. If she's playing, I'll watch for a little bit, see what's going on in regards to that. I think that's always interesting. All right, let's get it. Let me kind of forward here. Let's see what we got here. Slee, you spoiled. Listen, my dad had a liquor store too. Well, I was like a phone call away. Dad, here's the thing. I need Kit Kats tonight. I need a couple of Gatorades, and let's get a bag of Doritos. Cool Ranch. Last time you brought nacho cheese, bring Cool Ranch. Thank you, Dad. That was. I mean, they had a convenience store. I got to get something out of this. All right, let's see what we got here. Can't believe that guy. I'm just sitting here trying to make a good decision. Best affordable area in San Diego to go see Dodgers and Padres in June. Affordable. Go to Little Italy. I've told this to people before. Little Italy is a fantastic spot that's close enough to the ballpark where you can enjoy some great food, really safe environment, clean environment. I think Little Italy is a fantastic spot. Or you can go, if you want to be a little bit further away, I would go to Balboa Park area, which is not too far away from, you're going to have to drive there no matter what, or just catch an Uber there and make your life a lot easier. All right. Do you think the Pacers and Knicks Eastern Conference will be reminiscent of the 90s version of Reggie versus? I got to be honest. You know what I like about what's going on in the NBA right now? You know what? I was going to play this earlier. Do I play it now? I don't need to play it. But Adam Silver was on, I think, ESPN. I want to say he was on ESPN. He was talking about the playoffs. And he said that Joe Dumars, before he took a front office role, really tried instituting in the NBA, let these guys play in the playoffs. Take a little bit of a page from the old school NBA and let these guys play. And I don't know how you guys feel about the postseason. I like that it's rougher. I like that they're letting fouls go. I like that it's a little bit more physical. I like that it's a little bit more chippy. So to answer your question here, if it's Knicks Pacers, oh, there's history there. And yes, do any of these players have anything to do with the history back in the 90s? No, they don't. But the fan bases do. And I think the storylines will be there. And I think when you go to a Knicks Pacers, if that's the matchup, then you're going to have players from the 90s Knicks that are sitting courtside. And if you go, you might have some players from the Reggie Miller and something. I know Reggie probably be calling the games. That's good. That's good for the league. I like the more physical style in the playoffs. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I love the physical style of the playoffs. Slee, if you get arrested, are you throwing your teammate under the bus? I don't know if I am, but I'm just telling you at that point, when this was all going down with my pops, I was ready to throw everybody under the bus. Everybody. Let's get a couple more in here. All right, let's see. Ashley, if the Knicks win a championship on a scale of 1 to 10, how insufferable do you think Stephen A. Smith will be? Bro, I think Knicks fans will be insufferable. But you know what? I get it. If the Knicks actually won an NBA championship and they become the most annoying fan base in the world, I get it. I understand it. They haven't won a championship in 50 years. Hope no Knicks championship. Brunson and Company, hot dogs like hot dog Clippers. Thank you, Nuggets, for beating the Clippers. Heard there's a Cook store called Cottage Liquor. Okay, all right. Again, back to the places that you can go. All right, now people promoting their businesses. All right, that's we're good on that one. Didn't see that one coming. All right, let me see what else we got here. Oh, it's a good question. Do you prefer beach? I love the woods. I think woods are first for me, and then beach will come after that. Woods first, and then beach after that. That would be my order there. That would be my order. But either way, you can't go wrong. You literally can't go wrong. All right, I think we're good for today, everybody. I think we're good for today. All right, that was fun today. Appreciate it. Thank you for all hanging out for the tops. Thank you for the supers. A lot of good supers today. So I appreciate that. That's a great way of supporting the channel. So I really, really appreciate you guys doing it. Let me get another one in here from Kevin. Kevin, that's 2 in a row. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Back in 2018, 76ers had way more draft picks and their young core already made the playoffs. Imagine the lineup. Ben, Jimmy, Bron, Tobias, Embiid. They easily could trade for AD. Just went 7 with Warrior. Yeah, but I also think, LeBron wanted the best of both worlds. He wanted to be in the market that he wanted to be in. I think he was ready to come to the West Coast. I think he wanted to plant his flag in LA. And I also think he had in mind winning championships. Guys, you don't become one of the best players in the world and not care about winning. Like that just doesn't, those two don't jive. They obviously both go hand in hand. They both go together. So I get what you're trying to say, Kevin, but I think he understood that he basically can get whatever he wants with this franchise. It's a powerful franchise. It's one of the biggest franchises in the world. And I think he was trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. All right, my people, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for today. Fun show, phenomenal show. Appreciate the interaction in the chat. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Thank you for everybody hanging out. 2 things, and then we're out of here. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Please consider being a member. Thank you, everybody. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.